For generations, women like you have been subtly told what your life should look like, what happiness means, and who you should be with. But have you ever truly paused to consider the silent revolution unfolding around us, or perhaps even within you? There's a secret, a profound truth that many are too afraid to acknowledge, a truth that dismantles everything we thought we knew about a woman's journey. If you've ever felt a quiet stirring, a pull towards a deeper, more authentic existence beyond societal expectations, then this message is for you. Prepare to discover why choosing to walk your own path might just be the most courageous, and ultimately, the most fulfilling decision you could ever make, leading to a freedom you didn't even realize you were missing. Have you ever truly pondered why some women, perhaps even yourself, choose to embrace a life on their own? No boyfriend, no partner, not even seeming like they're actively looking for one. The real answer isn't a simple tale of loneliness, a lack of suitable options, or unresolved heartbreak. It lies in something far more profound, something deeply uncomfortable, something that quietly yet powerfully deconstructs everything we were ever taught about a woman's fundamental role in society. Because when a woman consciously chooses to be alone, she isn't actually getting lost in isolation. She is, with immense clarity and purpose, truly finding herself. This powerful kind of self-discovery doesn't come with loud applause, an outpouring of social media likes, or constant company. Instead, it emerges from profound periods of silence, an unwavering inner strength, and a unique, liberating freedom that most people simply don't yet understand. Rest assured, this woman is not lonely. She is profoundly selective about who she allows into her sacred space. She is not cold. She has simply grown tired of burning her precious energy for others who never truly desired to feel her warmth or truly appreciate her light. There's something undeniably powerful, even profoundly threatening, about a woman who doesn't need a relationship to feel complete and whole within her own being. Because that unshakable wholeness shatters the conventional logic of control, gracefully dismantles the old myth of emotional dependency, and bravely reveals a brutal yet essential truth. Most men often don't know what to do with a woman who genuinely doesn't need saving, and sadly, most women are still just learning to fully recognize themselves in that silent yet utterly deafening mirror of profound self-power. Carl Jung once sagely observed that everything we consciously deny within ourselves inevitably becomes a part of our shadow, and in many meaningful ways, these single women often serve as a profound reflection of our collective shadow. They are what countless individuals secretly dream of becoming, but far too few possess the profound courage to truly embody. They don't scream for external validation or love. They softly whisper their conscious choices to the universe. They don't incessantly put themselves on display to attract superficial attention. Instead, they thoughtfully retreat into their inner sanctums to lovingly preserve their deepest selves. They are far less interested in charming any passing princes, and profoundly more focused on cultivating their own unwavering peace. And that, dear women, often makes people genuinely uncomfortable, because while the world ceaselessly demands an urgent need to be with someone, these extraordinary women have discovered the profound transformative power of truly being with themselves. The woman who lives alone, without a partner by her side, is not lost in any sense of the word. She is, in fact, operating on an entirely different level of profound awareness. This is a powerful plane where nothing needs to be begged for, but everything is consciously and thoughtfully chosen, where external approval isn't needed or sought, and her own magnificent presence is more than enough. And perhaps this is precisely why she ignites so much criticism, fuels so much judgment, and prompts so many attempts to label or frantically explain her existence. But what many still struggle to understand is that behind her apparent absence, there is a profound presence that deeply fills her, that bravely transcends ordinary expectations and unequivocally challenges the conventional emotional status quo. She doesn't desire just any kind of love. She yearns for something truly expansive, something that doesn't in any way shrink her vibrant spirit. And until that truly resonant connection manifests, she stands strong, completely whole, and perfectly complete within herself. Perhaps in this very moment, you might not fully comprehend this perspective. You might even dismiss it as an exaggeration, a touch of ego, or even carefully concealed emotional damage. But deep down, in the quietest chambers of your being, there is a question, a gentle pulse that persistently resonates even when you try desperately to ignore it. What if that silent, solitary path is actually the only true one that authentically leads to the most significant kind of love, the profound, transformative love that powerfully begins with you? The silence that gracefully surrounds a woman who chooses to live alone is never an emptiness. Instead, it is a sacred, inviolable sanctuary for her soul. And unfortunately, those who don't truly understand the immense value of that private space often mislabel her as cold, distant, or even arrogant, unable to see the profound strength she has cultivated within. But what only a discerning few truly grasp is that she didn't painstakingly build that inner fortress to simply shut the entire world out. She meticulously constructed it to ensure she would never, ever lose herself again in the chaos of life. Carl Jung, in his profound wisdom, also shared that everything we stubbornly refuse to confront within ourselves, we inevitably end up projecting onto others. And perhaps that's why so many women still mistakenly confuse genuine solitude with a mere absence of connection when, in reality, it can serve as the most fertile and essential ground for deep self-discovery. While most people are constantly looking to complete themselves through external connections and relationships, this particular woman consciously turned her discerning gaze inward. And there, in the vast, often unexplored landscape of her own unconscious mind, she courageously faced the various ghosts she had skillfully avoided for far too many years. These ghosts were the lingering shadows of childhood wounds, the painful echoes of unspoken abandonments, and the insidious attachments that had cunningly disguised themselves as love. Her conscious decision to be alone did not spring from a freshly opened wound, but rather from a deep ancient scar that had finally and truly healed, leaving her stronger than ever. She did not stop believing in the power of love itself. She simply stopped accepting what others defiantly called love when it consistently made her feel smaller, diminished, and less than her true worth. This woman intimately understands chaos. She has loved others until she completely lost sight of her own identity. She has generously given far too much of her essence. She has regrettably begged for emotional crumbs that should never have been offered in the very first place. But at some pivotal juncture, she bravely woke up to her own truth. And that profound awakening wasn't a sudden, dramatic event. It was instead a gradual series of disappointments that eventually stopped causing deep hurt and instead began to teach her invaluable life lessons. What you now observe in her is not coldness. It is a hard-won emotional maturity, a profound wisdom gained through experience. And maturity, as we both know, can often be unsettling to others because it unequivocally demands authentic presence, deep understanding, and unflinching truth. She no longer desires just any company. She seeks profound reciprocity, a balanced exchange of hearts and minds. She is no longer attracted to empty promises, but to the unwavering reality of genuine presence. So, perhaps this is why she often seems utterly unreachable to many. It's not because she yearns to be saved. It's because she desperately wants to be truly seen, deeply understood, and fully acknowledged. And that, my dear women, requires far more than mere charm or sweet, superficial words. It demands immense courage to dive headfirst into the depths of authentic connection where very few dare to venture. And it is precisely at this profound depth that many give up. Not because she is inherently difficult, but because she is already whole and complete within herself. When a woman achieves this state of unwavering wholeness, she inevitably awakens two extreme reactions in the world: deep admiration and profound fear. Admiration flows from those who are themselves on a similar journey towards wholeness, recognizing a kindred spirit. Fear, however, emanates from those who still live in emotional halves, perpetually waiting for someone else to finally make them feel complete. This woman does not seek to complete anyone. Her deepest aspiration is to simply overflow her own abundance alongside someone who has also truly found themselves. Until that truly reciprocal and whole connection manifests, she steadfastly remains alone, not by the random whim of fate, but out of an unwavering sacred loyalty to her own precious soul. This extraordinary woman isn't hiding from the world, she is lovingly protecting her sacred self. There exists a vast and crucial difference between isolating oneself and thoughtfully preserving one's inner essence. Yet the world, in its often conventional thinking, struggles to easily accept a woman like her, a world that still widely preaches that happily ever after can only exist when found in pairs, a society that frequently distrusts those without a partner as if that were some kind of personal failure. Carl Jung once wisely said that where rigid convention rules, there is precious little room for genuine authenticity. And this woman, without a doubt, does not live by convention. She lives entirely by her deepest essence. She often hears the tired old phrases like, "You're too picky," or "You should be more open," and the classic, "Nobody's perfect." And in response, she simply offers a calm, steady, almost ironic smile. This smile holds a quiet understanding because she knows that what many label as picky is, for her, simply the bare minimum. The essential foundational respect and connection that took her decades of life experience to realize she profoundly deserves. She is not on a misguided quest for elusive perfection. What she truly seeks is a partner mature enough to love without unknowingly destroying. Someone who has diligently done the crucial inner work that she has already bravely faced within herself. And let's be entirely honest, such a profoundly evolved connection is not something you effortlessly stumble upon on just any street corner. The discomfort she subtly causes in others isn't merely in what she says, but powerfully in what she silently represents. She is living, breathing proof that it is absolutely possible to find deep happiness and fulfillment without depending on anyone else for it. And this liberating truth has a profound effect, tearing masks off. Men who unknowingly feed on female insecurity often feel deeply threatened by her presence. Women who are still entangled in their own desperate need for external approval might feel subtly judged by her unwavering self-assurance. But this woman isn't living her life to confront anyone. She is simply profoundly being herself. And the raw, untamed authenticity of someone who has genuinely freed herself naturally serves as a powerful, even brutal mirror to those who are still, perhaps unknowingly, living in their own emotional chains. This woman is never in a hurry. She has no desperate need to rush through life's precious moments just to please others. She deeply respects her own unique pace and rhythm. And it is precisely this calm, self-assured approach that often stirs a silent fury in a society that relentlessly demands instant gratification and accelerated timelines for everything. While the world eagerly chases superficial distractions, she steadfastly seeks genuine depth. While society frequently offers only shallow availability, she yearns for authentic, committed presence. She longs for soul-level bonds and profound connections, while everyone else is often striving to merely appear interesting on their next social media post. When she says no, it's not a manipulative game, it is an honest truth. When she gracefully walks away, it's not a dramatic scene, it's a vital act of self-defense and preservation. When she chooses the peace of staying home instead of engaging with someone who feels empty, it is not arrogance, it is simply profound clarity. And this hard-won clarity, forged through her own personal pain and moments of deep surrender, is undeniably her greatest, most empowering revolution. Because she no longer lives to please others, she lives simply to be. And that deceptively simple act of being her authentic self is precisely what makes her so profoundly challenging, even dangerous, to many conventional systems of thought. Perhaps what truly unsettles people most about this woman isn't her embraced solitude at all. Instead, it's the deep, undeniable peace she has so beautifully found within herself. Carl Jung wisely taught that those who only look outward dream, but those who bravely look inward truly awaken. And it was precisely this arduous inner journey that she wholeheartedly undertook. It was far from easy. It was a grueling, demanding process of carefully stripping away all her learned masks, fearlessly confronting the ghosts of emotional dependency, and meticulously rebuilding herself piece by precious piece. She no longer allows herself to be defined through the often distorted eyes of others. She now sees herself clearly through her own knowing eyes, and that, in essence, changes absolutely everything about her world. How many times have you, in moments of quiet reflection, pondered if being alone signifies a failure, or if it is, in fact, a liberating freedom? How often have you felt the subtle, persistent need to justify your choices for not having a partner by your side? This remarkable woman has felt those very same internal struggles. She once mistakenly believed there was something fundamentally wrong with her for being alone in a world that constantly idolizes couples, sometimes even unhappy ones. But then, one profound day, she finally understood an undeniable truth. It is infinitely better to be truly alone than to become emotionally invisible within a relationship. And on that transformative day, she made a solemn pact with herself. Never again would she accept less than what her true and beautiful self authentically deserves. Her unique path is far from a straight, easy line. There are undoubtedly days filled with self-doubt, moments tinged with nostalgia, and long nights of profound, echoing silence. Yet, hand in hand with these challenges, there is an indomitable strength that consistently grows stronger with each conscious decision made with full awareness. She has learned through invaluable experience that true love never seeks to cage, never consumes, and never manipulates another's spirit. The love she now yearns for is the kind that unequivocally liberates, that consistently adds to her life, and that profoundly supports her without ever suffocating her essence. And until that deeply enriching love manifests, she consciously chooses to continue growing and evolving on her own. This isn't born of arrogance or pride, but rather from a place of profound inner integrity. This woman is a living embodiment of Carl Jung's concept of individuation, the process of becoming a unified, distinct whole. She courageously shattered old illusions, bravely faced her deepest shadow aspects, descended into the mysterious depths of her unconscious mind, and triumphantly returned more whole and complete than ever before. Now that she unequivocally recognizes herself in all her multifaceted glory, she adamantly refuses to be just a half of anything ever again. She doesn't seek someone to complete her, for she is already whole. Instead, she yearns for someone to consciously share this profound awareness and journey with her. This vision is deeply intimidating to some because it demands a high level of emotional responsibility and conscious engagement. And sadly, in today's world, far too few individuals are genuinely willing to love with such responsibility and depth. Most still, regrettably, love out of personal lack, out of possessiveness, or out of a primal fear of being alone. And if she confidently walks alone today, it is precisely because every step she takes echoes with profound learning and hard-won wisdom. Every no she articulates is a powerful act of unwavering self-respect. Every intentional absence she imposes is a stark, yet crucial reminder that genuine love should never, ever be begged for. It should be freely and willingly offered. She no longer feels any need to prove anything to anyone. And this profound certainty, born from the deepest chambers of her very soul, profoundly transforms everything around her. Because a woman who has so thoroughly rediscovered herself becomes truly formidable, not because of any external weapons she wields, but because of the razor-sharp clarity of her vision and her purpose. The woman who now lives alone, without a partner, is undeniably not the same woman who once humbly begged to be loved. Something profound inside her had to break first, and it was precisely that courageous, transformative break that ultimately set her truly free. Because sometimes, and perhaps only sometimes, it is in the painful moments of collapse that the soul truly finds its beautiful, resilient new form. Carl Jung also insightfully observed that the tree that grows robustly to heaven must also have roots that reach equally deep down into hell. And this perfectly describes the journey she has lived. she bravely descended into the metaphorical hell of her own personal story, faced down ancestral fears, confronted inherited pains, and processed traumas that weren't solely hers, but also those carried by all the women who came before her. She broke the cycles of generational patterns. She firmly said no to relationships that endlessly repeated the same toxic scripts. She wisely learned that it was never her sole responsibility to heal anyone, to save anyone, or to meekly accept emotional crumbs just out of a fear of being alone. And when she finally stopped settling for less than she deserved, the world initially tried to convince her that she was profoundly wrong for doing so. But she stood her ground, unwavering. First, she did so with a touch of uncertainty, then with a growing conscious awareness, and finally with a profound invulnerability. Because someone who has courageously lived through their own emotional abyss no longer fears absence. They have befriended it. She learned to deeply nourish herself with periods of silence and to warmly embrace herself with her own comforting presence. She isn't unreachable in a hostile way. She simply no longer permits herself to be thoughtlessly invaded or diminished by others. There exists an enormous gulf between gracefully opening your heart to connection and recklessly allowing yourself to be torn apart by those unworthy of it. She opens her heart, yes, but only for those who approach her with genuine truth and sincerity, not with rehearsed speeches or empty, hollow promises. She has lived and seen enough to instinctively discern the vast difference between authentic presence and mere performance. Her intuition has sharpened into a finely tuned instrument, and her energy now acts as a discerning filter. She can sense from a considerable distance what lacks true depth or substance, and she does not hesitate to gracefully, yet firmly, walk away from it. Her transformation isn't superficial, it's deeply archetypal. It's as if she has tapped into an ancient, profound wisdom, an old forgotten memory, reminding her that women were not born to merely serve others, but to beautifully express their unique selves, not to be shaped into confined roles, but to magnificently overflow with their own inherent essence. And in accessing this powerful memory, something profound awakened within her. A wild woman, intuitive, emotionally sovereign, a woman who, though physically alone, is incredibly far from lost. She is in deep communion with something far greater than herself, aligning perfectly with her own sacred destiny. And no matter how relentlessly others try to diminish her with reductive labels, calling her cold, difficult, or distant, nothing truly sticks to her soul because she no longer lives to simply fit into narrow boxes. She lives vibrantly to expand her very being. She no longer fights for external attention. Instead, she radiantly emanates her own powerful presence. She is no longer passively waiting to be chosen. She now confidently does the choosing. And this profound reversal of conventional logic thoroughly confuses those who still attempt to control or define the feminine spirit. But she is already far beyond their reach. She has bravely crossed an invisible threshold. On the other side, she discovered that the real, authentic relationship with another person truly begins only after you have loved yourself profoundly enough to not need anyone else to complete you. There is something inherently sacred about the dignified way she navigates the world. She has no desperate need for external applause or public validation of her worth. Her confidence is a quiet, steady force deep within, and it is in that profound silence that her true, unshakable strength genuinely lives. Carl Jung sagely remarked that everything we face and integrate within ourselves eventually becomes our destiny. And perhaps that is why this remarkable woman, by consciously choosing herself again and again, has become the author of a magnificent destiny that few can fully comprehend, but many secretly envy. She no longer attempts to fill any internal voids with empty promises, nor does she try to desperately convince anyone that she is worthy of love. She no longer begs for a space in anyone's life because she has powerfully learned that true presence should never, ever be begged for. It must be genuinely invited. And when that invitation doesn't come from a place of profound truth, she simply, yet firmly, declines it. She does not react with anger or bitterness when others fail to meet her. Instead, she steps away with the profound dignity of someone who has been lost emotionally far too many times to allow the same old wounds to fester again. What few truly grasp is that this woman still profoundly yearns for love. She still desires to be deeply held, tenderly touched, and consciously chosen by another. But she wants it all without ever losing herself again, because she has spent far too long attempting to squeeze her vast and complex soul into molds that were simply too small. Now she only graciously offers herself in spaces where there is ample room for her to be completely whole and authentic. And this level of profound connection requires a maturity that extends far beyond typical romance. It demands deep awareness, having courageously faced one's own shadow and still consciously choosing to love, even with all the vulnerability that entails. She is not searching for simplistic fairy tales. She is seeking a profound soul alliance, a connection where there is no domination or submission, where both individuals can gracefully grow side by side without dimming their own unique colors, silencing their inner pains, or shrinking their expansive dreams. And if this vision seems too grand or too demanding for some, then so be it, because she would unequivocally rather wait for that truly resonant connection than to merely survive on emotionally insufficient crumbs. To many, this conviction might sound like pure arrogance, but in its truest, most unfiltered form, it is simply profound self-love, beautifully expressed. We are, undeniably, witnessing the emergence of a new archetype of woman. A woman who has deliberately walked away from the superficial and bravely plunged into the deep. One who grew tired of being merely desired and consciously chose instead to be deeply respected. A woman who chose to embrace solitude not because she had given up on the very concept of love, but because she began to deeply understand that real, authentic love never, ever demands self-denial. And when a woman truly understands this fundamental truth, her entire world profoundly begins to shift and change. She no longer needs to raise her voice loudly to be heard or acknowledged. Her powerful presence speaks volumes long before any words escape her lips. Wherever she quietly goes, the energy in the room subtly yet unmistakably shifts, as if something within the space gently realigns itself to her inner calm. This is not some abstract mysticism, it is pure, palpable energy, the profound weight of someone who has courageously faced her most brutal inner wars and consciously chose to return from them in a state of hard-won peace. Not because she miraculously conquered all her fears, but because she learned to intimately live with them without ever being truly defeated by their presence. Carl Jung would recognize that she found wholeness not by futilely attempting to eliminate her internal opposites, but by bravely integrating them into her being. This woman does not reject love. She has simply learned not to submit to imbalanced relationships where one must diminish their light so the other can disproportionately shine. She deeply yearns for love, but a love where her true essence never needs to be edited, pruned, or hidden. A love where she can freely be both shadow and light, effervescent laughter and sorrowful tears, profound silence and a magnificent storm all at once. Because she has profoundly realized that those who only love the pretty or convenient parts of her have not yet truly learned what authentic love wholeheartedly embraces. And those who constantly demand unrelenting sweetness still fail to understand the profound beauty of bitterness, which is so utterly necessary for true growth and transformation. She is simply too whole and complete within herself to settle for emotional halves. She is far too free in her spirit to accept metaphorical prisons disguised as caring attachments. She is entirely too sensitive in her soul to endure shallow, superficial bonds. And at the very same time, she is remarkably strong enough to keep consciously choosing this deeply personal path she has forged, even when it hurts, even when it feels intensely lonely, and even when her journey is profoundly misunderstood by others. That, my dear woman, is the profound journey of an awakened soul, willingly giving up instant, fleeting external validation in exchange for a deeper, more enduring inner truth. Deep down, the world subtly, perhaps unknowingly, fears women like her. Women who no longer need others to complete them. Women who refuse to bow to societal pressures. Women who stubbornly refuse to be molded into predetermined shapes because they bravely challenge invisible societal structures, question deeply ingrained old patterns, and shatter silent emotional contracts that once dictated a woman only has inherent worth if she is partnered with someone. And when she breaks these confining contracts, when she powerfully rewrites her own unique narrative, she unconsciously inspires countless others to do the same. And for the established system, that, dear women, is a dangerously revolutionary act. So she continues on her path, sometimes with the quiet glint of tears in her eyes, sometimes with her chest held high in proud defiance, but always with her feet planted firmly on her own sacred ground. Because now she intrinsically knows she is never truly alone. She is profoundly and wholly with herself. And after everything she has lived through, after every lesson learned, that is more than enough. It is everything. The love that will undoubtedly eventually come after this profound self-discovery will not be a form of salvation or a desperate rescue. Instead, it will be a magnificent celebration. It will not arrive to fill her, it will come to exquisitely overflow her already abundant existence. When a woman courageously chooses to walk alone, the world often rushes in, attempting to convince her that she is making a terrible mistake, that she is missing out. But deep down, within her very core, she feels something immensely powerful, aligning perfectly within her soul. It's not a proud arrogance or a defiant rebellion. It is a rare, profound kind of wisdom that can only truly be born and cultivated in the deep chambers of silence. This is the very same wisdom Carl Jung called individuation, the arduous yet magnificent process of becoming entirely and authentically who you truly are, without masks, without compromises, without limitations. And when that sacred transformation finally happens, absolutely nothing external has more power or influence than the blazing truth that powerfully pulses inside her own magnificent chest. That profound truth doesn't need to shout for attention or validation. It manifests itself subtly, yet powerfully, in the serene way she quietly closes a door to an old chapter without a trace of resentment. It reveals itself in how gracefully she withdraws when an environment no longer authentically nourishes her spirit. It shines forth in the peaceful smile she wears, even when there is no one else physically by her side. Because she has profoundly discovered that being truly alone is not a punishment. It is a sacred vow of unwavering loyalty to her own precious soul. And the soul of an awakened woman does not submit, does not dim its light, does not beg for affection or validation. It simply is. And that, my dear women, is undeniably more than enough. The world will continue to relentlessly try to tell her she is missing something essential. It will persist in offering her superficial distractions, countless plastic princes, and various forms of love designed merely for public display. But she has already seen far beyond the curtain of illusion. She has already profoundly understood a pivotal truth. It is not about desperately finding someone to complete her. It is about powerfully ensuring she never, ever loses herself again in the process. And when that profound realization truly blooms within a woman, absolutely everything in her world profoundly changes. Desire transforms into refined discernment. The sense of lack she once felt becomes a conscious, empowered choice. Waiting, no longer passive, transforms into a meaningful, purposeful path. And what once caused her deep hurt now wisely teaches her. What once bound her in chains now gloriously sets her free. You can feel it deep inside your own being, that quiet stirring, that undeniable spark of recognition. Perhaps it's a long-forgotten memory, an old wound that suddenly resurfaces, a nostalgia that never quite made sense until now. Perhaps it's the powerful image of a woman you once knew, or perhaps, most powerfully, it's the burgeoning image of the magnificent woman you are actively becoming, right at this very moment. In any case, something profound within you is earnestly asking to be seen more clearly, understood more deeply. Something within you no longer comfortably fits into old restrictive molds, and if you simply allow it, it holds the incredible potential to completely transform how you relate to love, to others, and most importantly, to your own precious, evolving self. That woman who chooses to live alone is far more than just someone who simply doesn't fit into societal expectations. She is a powerful, living symbol of profound emotional freedom, a radiant reminder that it is entirely possible to lovingly rebuild oneself without haste, without debilitating fear, and without ever needing to prove anything to anyone else. She doesn't necessarily walk ahead of others, setting a pace they must follow, but she also no longer blindly follows. She bravely carves out her own unique, absolutely invaluable path, a journey that is entirely her own. And along this deeply personal journey, she quietly, yet powerfully, lights little fires of inspiration for other women who are also courageously waking up to their own inner strength and truth. If something deep within you was touched or resonated with this story today, perhaps it's because deep down, you too are intrinsically ready for a new, more profound kind of love, a love that powerfully begins with a compassionate reconciliation with your own magnificent self. A love that authentically feeds on the sacred quietude of silence, the richness of presence, and the unwavering clarity of truth. A love that cannot be negotiated, cannot be begged for, and can never be disguised as anything less than it truly is. And if that deeply authentic love hasn't yet manifested in your external life, perhaps it's precisely because you first needed to become the powerful, self-aware woman who no longer accepts anything less than she truly and profoundly deserves. If this message found you at just the right moment, or if it gently awakened a sleeping strength you had perhaps forgotten was living vibrantly inside you, then I warmly invite you to share this profound video. Pass it on to other remarkable women who need to remember their own incredible strength and power. Feel free to like it, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to this channel. Do this not out of a fleeting impulse, but as a conscious, empowering choice. Because when something truly touches the deepest core of your soul, the least we can do is lovingly allow it to keep resonating within us and gracefully flow through us, inspiring us all.